It's going to bring up a Jeep. There you
Preparing to
go.
live. Can you see
Got
the
it.
screen?
Yes, you got it.
All right.
Yep, we're live on YouTube. Good job. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Rick, you can take
All
back
right.
over your meeting now.
All right. Thanks for the technical wizardry.
There, look at that.
Yep, we're all good, Tom. Thank you.
All right, good. So I will officially call the meeting to order. It's the Village of Tewksbury Planning Board. This is a special meeting on April 19th, 2022. And I'll just ask the people at the front table to introduce themselves.
Mark Evocatus.
I'm Joe Kuchar. I don't have a name tag yet. I'm new to the planning board.
So Rick Geiger.
John Holberg.
I'm Tom Myers, the zoning officer.
And I want to welcome Joe to the planning board.
Hey, Joe.
This is his first official meeting, although he's been our alternate now for some time. And attended our last meeting, which is relevant because we're going to be reviewing one item that was discussed the last time we had got together. So Joe is completely up to speed on that. We're delighted to have you with us, Joe, and
Thank you.
have really appreciated your contributions and your attentiveness and all of those kind of things leading up to this. And so
Thank you very much.
we look forward to that moving forward as well. Michelle Matrani, our other board member, apparently has tested positive for COVID and therefore isn't going to be with us tonight. We just learned that tonight. So, but we still have a quorum. We can still do everything. So the first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. And I don't think we have any minutes at this point.
Yeah, I didn't see any.
Because this meeting was a little more quick than our normal monthly meeting. So I don't think we have any minutes to approve. The first matter is the site plan review that we had the public hearing for last time for the Atlas Bowl addition of a roof over the back patio and some fencing and some other things that are going to go on back there. We had extensive discussions of that last time. We had a public hearing. We didn't receive any live comments during that public hearing, but we did learn about comments that had been submitted for the Board of Zoning Appeals meeting that happened, but then it wasn't necessary, it turned out. So we did have some comment at that time. Because of that, we left the public hearing open for an additional week. That week expired, I think on Friday, a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
And right as that meeting was expiring, we got about 10 comments to our mailbox. And one hand-delivered comment from Jules Bergeron. That's usually how Jules works. So we had a nice long talk on our porch. And all of the comments, I circulated them to board members. I think all of the comments were positive. So that's where we are at this point. We're getting back together again to, in light of the comments or in light of other things that people have thought of during the interim that you'd like to talk to the applicant about. So we can do that again. And if there's anything in addition that needs to be handled, we can handle that. You also know that I have circulated a draft resolution so that if we do decide to take action tonight, we can act on that resolution. But we still have to do that. Other pieces of information. Last time we talked about the requirement under the general municipal law. It's called the New York State General Municipal Law, and it's the law that governs all relations between municipalities. And we had some discussion of whether we had an obligation under the law to involve the county in this because of its proximity to the state highway. And we concluded that we weren't sure and that we'd send Tom on a mission to get an application into the county planning people, but then to discuss with them whether anything is actually necessary and how to proceed. So Tom did that, and we learned, I think as a result of Tom and Tammy's efforts, that we actually have a intermunicipal agreement passed in, I think, 2002 or 2003 with the county that specifies a bunch of exceptions to the requirements of the state law. And these kind of exceptions are allowed by the state law, and back in the early 2000s, the county and the village negotiated some exceptions, and it turns out that pretty clearly the Atlas proposal falls within one of those exceptions. And so Tom worked with the county and everybody ended up agreeing that there was no need, therefore, to have the county involved in this. So everything worked out
That's clear.
nicely and it allowed us to be a little bit more efficient, I think, in getting this thing resolved.
Yeah, thanks for that effort, Tom.
Yeah, well done.
Yeah, get paid for it too.
And thank you, Tammy, too, for
Almost
helping us
like-
remember about that ordinance. So, all right. So where we are now is I'm going to open up the floor for comments or questions from planning board members to the applicant. If you need any additional information, I have no additional questions.
Couple of questions, just the draft resolution.
Mhm.
What is the resolution? Where does it say resolved?
At the very end where it says, now therefore.
Do I have that?
Do you have it? It's on the second page. And it simply says that we're approving the application.
The second page,
There's a bunch of whereas clauses.
under zoning analysis,
Oh, no, you're looking at.
Oh, you're looking at
The applicant's
materials from the
materials,
applicant,
yeah.
yeah, I don't think I got the resolution.
It was all emailed.
It was one of the.
It was an
attachments.
attachment,
Yeah.
which when I
To the
opened the
email.
attachment and printed it out, this is what I got.
Well, there were two
attachments. So
Yeah.
unless it's right at the end, this is all from trade design build. So
Well,
do you have a copy of the
I have a
resolution?
copy of the resolution. If you
Oh,
want to look
okay.
at it, it's, you know,
Sure.
it's kind of, formal, but, yeah, you should definitely look at it. What I was gonna do is read it into the record. If
Well,
we
that's
decided to do it that way, yeah. But, yeah, you should have a look. Any other questions while John is getting himself up to speed?
Doing my speed reading.
Okay, are there any comments from the applicant?
No, thanks for doing this special meeting, which I realize pulls you all away from your friends and family, so we appreciate the accommodation.
Our pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much.
You could be sledding.
Okay, well.
I feel like we had a great discussion about this last time and my feelings haven't changed.
Yeah,
I did a little site visit of my own, just on my own feed last week.
There.
So for those like graffiti that we're gonna cover.
yeah, it's quite a neighborhood back there. All right, so I guess what I'll do is ask for a motion. What I'll do first is I'm going to read this proposed resolution approving the application. And then I'll ask for a motion to approve the resolution. And so we'll proceed in that way. So this will take a few minutes, couple of minutes. All right, so planning board resolution approving Atlas Bowl site plan, 61 West Main Street, Trumansburg, New York. Whereas the Village of Trumansburg Planning Board received a completed site plan application pursuant to section 812 and subparts of the zoning ordinance of the Village of Trumansburg, New York, from Atlas Bowl for modifications to the existing structure at 61 West Main Street as specified in the drawings, survey, and narrative materials attached to and incorporated in this resolution as attachment A. And whereas the applicant had previously initiated an appeal to the Trumansburg Board of Zoning Appeals requesting a variance for the project, during which appeal the BZA indicated that no variances were necessary for the project to proceed. And whereas the planning board at its regular meeting on March 24th, 2022, considered the application and received the presentation from the representatives of the applicant concerning the proposed work. And whereas the planning board discussed the various issues raised by the application and received additional input from applicant in response to questions and comments. And whereas the planning board temporarily suspended its regular meeting and opened a public hearing, which had been duly publicized, during which no public comments were offered, but during which the planning board received written comments that have been submitted to the BZA in connection with the appeal described above. And whereas the planning board continued to the public hearing for a period of 7 days in order to permit additional written public comment, during which period the planning board received additional public comment from several residents. And whereas the planning board resumed its temporarily suspended meeting and on motion duly seconded, unanimously voted that the work proposed in the site plan application constituted a type 2 action under the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, and therefore did not require additional environmental review under seeker or under corresponding village environmental regulations. And whereas the village code enforcement and zoning officer, in consultation with and with the agreement of the Tompkins County Planning Department, that the general municipal law section 239 as modified by the intergovernmental agreement between the county and the village dated December 11th, 2003, did not require additional review by the county. And whereas the planning board at a special meeting on April 19th, that's tonight, which was duly publicized, gave further consideration to the application, considered the various public comments that have been received, and addressed further questions and comments to the applicant. On a motion duly seconded, voted unanimous, voted, I'll leave that part out. Now, therefore, the application as submitted is hereby approved. So that would be the resolution that I would like to have a motion to approve.
I move to approve that motion.
Second.
Okay, so it's moved by Mark, seconded by John. Is there any further discussion? Okay, I don't see anyone wanting to have any further discussion. So how many are in favor of approving this? Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it unanimously passes. What I'll do now is, I guess, Tom, should I give you the attachment A materials, which are the materials that were submitted by the applicant?
Yeah, I would like to have a final copy, one of the troubles I have.
And that should be appended to that.
Yeah,
Okay,
and I'll have the final copy of this and that's signed.
yeah,
Tammy will have all that, but then I can get rid of all the multiple copies that the file's burgeoning already. So
right, exactly. All right, so that item is done.
Excellent. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you for your consideration.
Congratulations
Long
on
drive
that.
for nothing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get it done.
I think I see an application for a building permit.
that's what I thought I
Sitting right
heard
in
him say too.
Excellent. Okay, good. All right. So we're done with that. Now we have our second item, which is the application of Shirley Brown for site plan review approval for their dwelling at the 20 P Street in the village. And we have the application materials from them. This originally, I think, was classified as a variance application, but it turned out that no variances were necessary.
Correct.
And so because it's a permitted use in zoning residence 1 area of the village, it doesn't require anything more than a site plan review. The point is here that it's going from being a 2-family structure, which is permitted, to being a 4-family structure.
Multiple families.
Multi-family.
Yeah,
Yeah, so it requires site plan review in order to make that move.
and it is a permitted use. It just needs that extra
Yeah.
layer of screening.
Overview. Right, so that's where we are. We've gotten a nice set of materials that describe what's going to be going on. I'll give the applicant a chance to give us an overview or highlight anything that you think is especially significant.
So first of all, when I purchased the house a year ago, it was a 3-family unit already. It had 2 apartments upstairs and it had a main floor apartment with stairs that went to the basement. So then, I followed up with Tom. You gave me the history on it. I didn't bring the email with me, but so part of what I wanted to do is to get the have it be accurate, have what the records be accurate, and have that's been working with Tom since I got the house. It's like I want to make sure that the thing's in compliance. So that's just one thing. So for me, it's like, no, we're going from a 3 to a 4, right? But in the records, it's a 2 to a 4 because the previous owners didn't do what they were supposed to do to bring it into whatever that code, I suppose is the right word for it. So essentially, there's 2 apartments upstairs that are fully functioning. They've been inspected. They're really in great shape. There's a main floor apartment with a staircase that goes to the basement. And the basement apartment, what would be that would be the 4th unit. The main floor would be the 3rd unit. The basement would be the 4th unit. I'm renting the basement out now as an Airbnb, which is legal under the regulations, is renting it out as an Airbnb, but I want to turn it into a regular apartment. And that way I can rent it as a long-term rental, for the community, because we need long-term rentals, first of all, something they're missing. And I don't want to run it as an Airbnb. I have another Airbnb vacation rental property, which I run on the back of our property. I don't want another one. I'd really rather have it be a long-term rental for those 2 reasons. One is that we need more rental properties, and 2 is that it's a lot of work to run vacation rental properties.
Yeah.
So basically, what needs to happen, all that will happen once the approval, if the approval is given, is that I will then go have the work done to have a firewall made between the basement and the 1st floor, remove the stairwell that goes from the 1st floor, the main floor, to the basement. And it already has parking, it already has a door, everything else is in place. It's really just a matter of putting in the firewall, and it would then become everything else has been approved. Everything else as far as how the apartment is structured in the basement is like with the fire code. The thing that won't work for it right now is with the fire code is it doesn't have the firewall. It needs to have the ceiling. There's a drop ceiling. The drop ceiling would be removed. We would put in new drop ceiling structure that's all fire resistant. And then we would also remove the stairwell, and then where there's the staircase and where the stairwell is, put a floor in that would separate, separate the unit upstairs from the unit downstairs. It's got a driveway and its own parking. There's ample parking. really won't change anything in the neighborhood. It's gonna be, it won't change, except for that it won't be a vacation rental, it'll be short-term vacation rental, it'll be long-term, people that are living there long-term. So I think it's a great,
How do people get into the second floor and how will they get into the basement?
So the second floor is the original main entrance to the.
Thank you.
The second floor, so the second floor, there's the original main entrance to the house.
Okay,
Actually,
And
I
then
don't
the-
think that's true. I think it's the original back door to the house. The original main entrance goes to the two apartments that are upstairs. So it's the original.
oh,
back
I'm
door.
sorry, I misspoke. I meant the apartments upstairs. How do you get to those?
The main entrance,
That-
so they were separated a long time ago. It's the main entrance, like you walk up to the front of the house and there's a
Mhm.
walkway and there's a door.
Uh-huh.
And you walk in and you go up the stairwell and there's the apartments upstairs. And then,
So it's a common
They're like-
stairwell.
yeah, common stairwell for the two apartments upstairs, that's
Gotcha.
right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought there were like two doors.
There are.
in the front.
Yeah, and the second front door, the one on the left goes to the two apartments upstairs. The one on the right goes to the main floor
I see.
apartment. Then around the back, where the driveway is, would be where the entrance for the basement apartment is.
Gotcha, okay.
And there's another door around, there's actually 3 doors that go into the basement. There's three separate entrances that are, just have always been there.
Hmm.
Well, when he built the shack, that was there.
So I'll jump in for just a little bit right now. Right from the get-go, Shirley's been really, really upfront with me. It was a situation where somebody wasn't upfront with the code officer preceding me, putting apartments in without a permit. And there's a legacy of that property of doing things without a permit, getting stopped, having to pull a permit, getting fined, blah, blah, blah. But Shirley wasn't trying to circumvent anything. And I always give people a lot of credit when they come to me. I brought the issue up, I think it was, but they didn't look, well, it's already here, I don't have to do anything. She was very cooperative, and it's always good to have that. The basement apartment, you would call the ceiling fire separation, because a wall is considered to be vertical. You could say horizontal fire separation, but I think everybody has the idea. Yes, there's lots of egress, which is important for a basement apartment. Although basement is hard to call because it does have quite a few openings and sunlight and all that, which would make it lovely. So yeah, everything is just about in order outside of that fire separation.
Yeah,
So have you had any complaints from neighbors?
no,
No, not problems with parking or?
not at all. There's, in the front of the building, when you're looking at it, there's a 2-car carport,
Mhm,
which,
yeah.
and then to the left of that, there is room for 4 more cars.
Mhm.
And then the driveway would be able, you could even have 2 cars in the driveway, but I haven't had any issues at all with neighbors being upset or complaints. I've owned it for a year, and then Terry White is the previous owner, and she's, she didn't say anything about there being, that she had ever had any issues either. Mind you, when she had it, her parents lived in the main floor
Mhm.
until they passed away. And so it was being used a bit differently, but there's ample parking.
Mhm. Is there a requirement of a certain amount of parking for, per unit or anything like that? I'm just trying to.
Yeah, but it's, I
It
think it's
sounds like
just
they
one
probably
per
need it.
unit.
They've got 6 out front, right?
Yeah, there's more than enough
More,
parking there
yeah.
for what's required. I can look it up.
Well, just, if it's one of those things that's handled in the ordinance, then.
Yeah,
we don't need
and
to-
as we're redoing the ordinance, we're talking about reducing the amount of parking required for this, so there's not so many cars. We're not encouraging more cars, I guess that would be the way to say it. But there's certainly more than adequate parking between the carport that was started without a permit and then
Yeah.
subsequently.
Well, and I think it may be less of an issue since you're not planning on using it as a, short-term rental.
Right,
And,
yeah.
because that, I know that can become an issue.
Yeah.
And, especially with, multi-bedroom
Yeah,
places and everybody's driving a car and they're all there for a week
Yeah.
or whatever, But
Yeah,
it doesn't
I've
sound
had-
like that's gonna happen.
I've had with our rental that we have, big, pickup trucks with big boats behind it driving down the driveway, so,
Yeah.
yeah. there would be lots of
Yeah.
Cars and,
Yeah, well, that's, I don't know if we're gonna have public comment, but I assume, I think that would be one of the things that, the neighborhood would care about. I know that there was some concern, I thought too, about the issue of construction staging. Is there gonna be a lot of, sort of heavy construction? I mean, it
No.
doesn't sound like it,
No,
right?
the only
Just-
thing that will have, that it'll have, my contractor is lined up. And he said it would take about 3 weeks to do the project, and he would, there's a shed, a quite large shed in the back, so things can be in there.
Yes.
Or
right.
it would be in there, there's a shed that's detached from the house.
Mhm.
That things could be in there. There's also the mudroom that we just remodeled, that things could also be in there. I imagine that they'll have, if there's other things that would be in the driveway, I would imagine that there would be some overflow onto the driveway, which is where we park to do the work.
The same contractor doing both the staircase and the fire ceiling, all one job.
Yeah, all one job, except for once the stairwell is removed, then I'll put some sort of a bookshelf or something for the spot there, and it'll be somebody else with that.
I have a question about the removal of that stair. Tom mentioned that there's plenty of egress arrangements. I don't see any secondary egress in the floor plan for the main floor.
The main floor,
Yeah.
there's just the one exit, and I have, in the closets, there are, ladders. I put those, the fire exit ladders in
I see.
the closet. And also the upstairs bedrooms also, upstairs apartments also.
And it sounds from your description that the fire department has had a look at things.
I had a fire inspection,
Yeah, I've
it was
been
another
fire
thing that they
I
had.
see,
to do.
okay.
It is compliant, and the out the window ladders don't count as an extra egress, but the window sizes do count. So on the main floor, we could have a little quiz and see how far a drop is acceptable under code. But I'll just tell you anyway, it's 14 feet. So if you have an egress window and a drop of less than 14 feet, that's acceptable.
So what, how does that work with the top floor? Is the top floor less
I
than
put like
14 feet?
20 egresses there.
What's that? Oh, yeah.
Is the-
But, and given that it's been the third floor has been in operation, you're not required to have a third egress because you look at when the work was done, and that was before there was a requirement. Pre-existing non-compliant, we call it, some people call it grandfather.
Yeah.
But then it heightens the need to have fire extinguishers, and you're operating smokes and CO alarms if needed.
Does the, I don't want to change the subject totally, but is there anything else on that? I was just wondering, does this new designation change the way the property gets assessed?
I don't know.
No.
I didn't understand.
I was just wondering if the designation changes at all the way the property would get assessed, tax wise, or just. Does it have any effect on that?
Whenever a building permit is issued, I keep record of it. Every month I send records to county assessment. The property owner will get a letter saying, did this work happen? And, did you add bedrooms, bathrooms, all that kind of stuff? And perhaps
I mean, if I might have talked everything, I was just wondering.
there's a place on the assessment database, property, what would you call it, records, where they say how many units, dwelling units right now.
Yeah, because the number of rooms will stay the same. The number of rooms that there are in the house is
Mhm.
identical, it's no change.
Yeah.
It's just number of units, just separating them
Yeah, and I think assessors generally are looking at square footage. you know.
Yeah, I'm not really sure about their formula. Is it
Yeah.
dwelling units enter it?
Yeah,
But,
Well, they already sent us a letter, we've got to read the assessment. It was gonna go from what it was to the purchase price, which is. what normally
which should happen. Yeah,
Mhm.
right.
Also, just a side note is that there already is a kitchen. So it was like a full live-in basement. So it has a kitchen, has a bathroom. So that's all.
Those are already there,
Yeah, all existing.
That's pretty comfy down there, really.
It's a sweet, sweet little space. It's
yeah.
really
Seems like a pretty good, I didn't quite see what the square footage, that basement apartment is pretty roomy.
Yeah.
We have to
Yeah.
stop calling it a basement.
Right.
Yeah, it's really like a half.
It's not.
It's not under the ground. It's only one corner of it. It's underground. The lower half, the lower level. The lower level.
Lower level.
That great apartment, yeah.
Mhm.
Some folks would prefer that. You know, it's-
Yeah, it's got its own patio. It has its own patio, two patios.
We
actually.
call it the ground floor.
The ground floor, right. I'll have to rearrange the numbers.
No, no water issues down there at all, have you?
No, we only had, when there was when we had a lot of rain a while back, there was a little bit of water, some water came into the bathroom, which I had someone come in and check it out, and it turned out that it was water coming off off of the drive, the
Downspout.
the downspout and the way that the land kind of goes, I can't say it the right way. So this summer gonna be, or in the spring, I'm gonna be putting a berm in there to move the water away from that bathroom. We put sandbags down and it stopped the problem. Instantly it stopped it. So otherwise, no.
Okay, well, are there any other questions, any other comments?
I think it's a lovely property.
It is a beautiful property.
It looks very nice
Yeah.
from the road.
All right, so we need to, the next step would be to go through the public hearing that we need to do as part of site plan review. So I'm going to temporarily suspend our actual meeting and ask for a motion to open the public hearing on this matter. Is there a motion?
So move.
Moved by John, seconded by Mark. So now our public hearing on this site plan application is officially open. I don't think we have any members of the public here to make comments in person. I can't tell, I'm not able
Yes,
to
we
tell
have
for sure.
There's a
We
thing
have
for.
two other people on the Zoom with us. One is Mr. Kraus and the other one is a call-in user. I'm not sure who that is.
Okay, so if anyone who's with us on Zoom would like to comment on this application, please signal us. Make sure you're not muted if you're trying to speak.
Tammy would have to unmute them.
Okay.
Can you see them?
No. Okay, well, I don't
Jerry?
hear. Hello? Oh, Jerry, are you there?
Jerry.
I am here. I don't have anything at this time. Hi, Shirley.
Hey, Jerry.
Okay, so I'm not hearing any public comments other than that there's no comment. So thanks, Jerry. So is there a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll move to close it.
Moved by Mark. Seconded, your first official action. Well done. Seconded by Joe. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, it was a unanimous we've closed the public hearing at this point. The only other thing that could conceivably be required of us, and I think I've concluded it's not, is a seeker review. But I think it's pretty clearly a type 2 seeker action. It's an expansion of an existing residence that's already allowed use, and that's pretty clearly excluded from the state environmental quality review. So we don't need to take any action on that. It is what it is. And so there's no environmental review required, so we don't have to go through that form. And I think at this point we could, this is a fairly straightforward linear application without any, sort of weird jiggles or, strange things going on. So I don't think we need a long drawn out resolution for this. I think it can be just a simple motion to approve the site plan application that's submitted in the materials to Tom.
And then is this part of the record that's when?
Yes, yeah, all the materials that have been submitted, both when it was thought that it was a variance application and when it was finally concluded that it was actually a site plan application. So, and I'm sure Tom has a full packet of these things. I think I sent them around too.
Yeah.
So is there a motion to approve this site plan review application?
I so
Moved by John, seconded by Mark.
Okay.
All right, is there further discussion? All right, all in favor of approving the site plan application for 20 P Street?
Aye.
Signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? No opposition, and unanimous vote. So your site plan application is approved. Congratulations.
Yeah, and I apologize for this. We were on the agenda last month to do this, and I didn't get the notification. I'm not quite sure what happened. Tam sent it, so my apologies. I don't know if that
Yeah.
caused
We
issues.
roll with the punches here,
Yeah.
so it's not a problem.
And the mail service has been horrendous recently. I've heard all sorts of things. And we just got a response to something that had been mailed weeks ago. And, the person sent the envelope, it was all crumpled up. This is how it got to me.
Yeah.
And they were, upset that that's how it worked, because people on our end were getting anxious, to put it nicely.
Yeah. Well, thanks for
guess.
giving me, following up with the email and making
Sure.
sure I got this one.
All right, so we'll move on to the next items. Old business and new business. Anybody have anything? John?
I'm assuming Tammy's asleep by now, but
I'm pretty sure she's not.
Thank you.
I thought it was nice to send her a card to get real
What
card.
can I do for you,
Oh.
Mr. Albert?
Oh, for standing up.
Oh, two. Yeah. We'll take care of that.
Well, I thought we could all sign.
Yeah, no, we'll do that after we adjourn.
Oh, okay. I have a somewhat related question. Are Airbnbs registered as such?
In my parlay, they're called unregulated short-term rentals,
Oh, right.
and the operative word is unregulated. As we're rewriting the zoning ordinance, that's a big issue in it,
I'm sure.
especially for me.
But guess who does regulate? The taxing.
Well, and yeah, they pay their.
Well, I thought that's how the Airbnbs escaped the hotel tax.
Yeah, they pay some penance or something, I'm not sure how they, it's a fee, and they figured they get away with it, but I've read a lot about it and gone to a few trainings. In some communities, it's totally out of control where, you know, there's a lot of partiers, if you can imagine, a lot of partiers coming into your neighborhood and, you know,
Piling as many people as they possibly can into the
Yeah.
house.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there's regs that are very light and non-intrusive to incredibly intrusive ones. City of Ithaca just instituted a bunch of regs that are pretty intrusive.
Interesting. I have
Yeah.
a friend. who-
Well, it's a design to like, I mean, I think the part here is one thing, but I mean, the issue is just housing stock in general, it seems to be the big
Yeah.
issue that Ithaca is trying to stem, right? They don't want to lose
And if it
apartments for
has
people and like.
more restrictive
Exactly.
regs, folks are gonna move north and east and west.
Interesting, yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I assume it is being discussed as part of that.
Yeah.
Vision
Yeah.
stuff, because, you know,
And
there's a
Drift,
fair amount of it.
this is unrelated to the Airbnb, but the other thing, we all watched that solar, the discussion of regulations related
Oh,
to
yes.
solar panels.
Mhm.
But I didn't see anybody on the comprehensive plan group in that,
CPCR,
yeah.
Ben Darfo
in
wasn't
that
there,
Zoom.
or Noah.
Was
Demers.
Ben, were they on?
I don't know.
No, I don't believe that.
I didn't see, so I don't know how that's folding into the comprehensive plan, if at all. Do you?
Yeah, the best we haven't really talked about it, any kind of additional or lighter regs on solar installations. We treat them as an accessory structure, so basically have to meet your setbacks. And you would have a maximum building height, so they can't go above that 35 feet without a variance, but there's some pretty strong code regs around them, but not about, you know, how they do it and such.
All right. If there's no other old or new business, is there a motion to adjourn? So make this your first official motion.
A motion to adjourn.
There's a second. Seconded by John.
Nice job beating 9:10, as we saw on the agenda.
9:10. You gave us a lot of time, Karen.
Well, you know, I have other boards who would eat up that time and continue for 2 more hours after that.
Okay.
Thank
well,
you,
we're not gonna do
gentlemen.
that.
Have a wonderful
right.
night.
Thank you for your help, Tammy.
Thanks, guys. Bye.
Best wishes.
This is just plain board.
Could you have Tammy send that?
I'll talk to my staff.
All right, can you turn the statement off?
Probably. Just, hey, she's still there. Look at that.
This camera here is really quite something.
That is. I've seen them elsewhere now too. Good idea.
That's great.
We'll just get out of this one.
Thank you all.
Thank you for everything you did in between.